The U.S. says Mustafa al-Imam was caught on Sunday by special ops forces in or around the city of Misrata. He had been traveling back and forth from his home in Tripoli and was being tracked. American commandos, a Navy SEAL 6 team, apprehended al-Imam and reportedly boarded him onto an American warship where he was immediately interrogated. Now, al-Imam is due to be brought to the U.S. where he'll face criminal charges over the deaths of 4 Americans killed in the Benghazi attacks. But 5 years ago, those attacks on the American diplomatic compound and a nearby CIA base. Now, the U.S. ambassador to Libya was among the dead. Remember, these are the attacks that Republicans in Washington tried to blame on negligence at the hands of the then Obama administration, specifically then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Now, details about this latest operation are limited. Officials say that plans to get al-Imam had been in the works for weeks, that they were waiting for White House approval. They say that Libyan authorities were notified about the operation in advance and that no American troops were injured and that all involved have been accounted for. Still, no word on al-Imam's condition. We should note that more than a dozen people have already been charged over those attacks. One of them, caught a few years ago, Ahmed Abu Khatala, started his trial at a criminal court here in Washington, D.C. earlier this month. I should stress criminal court because, remember, Donald Trump, the U.S. president, as candidate, vowed to fill up the Guantanamo Bay detention center with, quote, bad guys. But these guys aren't going there. They're being tried in civilian courtrooms before civilian judges. That could be an indication that despite all of its promises, this administration, at least for now, is steering clear of that controversial facility. Roee, Ruttenberg, CGTN in Washington.
Well, let's get you more now on that story. I'm joined live from Cairo by CGTN's Adel El-Mahrouhi. Adel, details are still sketchy on this operation. Has either Libya or Egypt responded officially to the capture of Mustafa al-Imam?
Well, the Egyptian government has not responded officially yet. It did not even comment on the incident. But overall, Egypt has been working intensively with all Libyan parties to enable their security forces and army to be capable in fighting extremist groups all over the troubled country. So, in a sense, this would be something that Egypt would usually praise once we get, of course, an official note. As for the Libyan side, well, Misrata is not part of the Libyan National Army territories where it has control over. It is backed by the Eastern government and has been spreading its influence in several territories. However, Misrata remains more or less close to its rival government in Tripoli of the West. And therefore, it will come that we will see contradicting reports from both governments, especially that U.S. troops have been on the ground in Libya, which is something would most likely be criticized by the Eastern government as it was not in coordination with it.
And Adel, how closely are the North African governments working with the United States when it comes to anti-terror operations?
Well, Egypt, of course, has been intensifying its coordination with the United States and have been asking for more support from the United States for its war over terror in Egypt and across the region. When it comes to Libya in specific, the United States has not been apparently active in coordination or in even engaging in the crisis itself. But what happened recently shows that there is coordination between the United States and the Western government in Libya, particularly the Presidential Council led by Faiz al-Sarraj, the UN-backed government. And also it was reported that during the US operations, ground militant groups, more or less independent as well, have been securing the area where Mustafa al-Imam has been located so that the US troops would enter and go out quickly without any intervention. That would definitely upset the Eastern government.
And we are also getting reports that civilians have been killed in airstrikes in the region, specifically in the city of Derna. Do you have more information for us on that?
Well, it is still coming up. The details itself has not been released by the Libyan National Army, which is usually the regular body to announce such official statements when it comes to the airstrike. However, it comes as part of the screening process and the coordination with regional troops in the Mediterranean, to target specific militant groups which have been usually described as terrorist organizations. It depends, of course, on which side, on which of the two Libyan governments you're talking about. But it is part of a usual conflict through which both rival governments would describe their opposition more of trying to put them on the terrorist side instead of dealing with them as a rival or on the ground as militant rival groups trying to attack them. So we're still waiting for precise information to be released.
Okay, Adel El Mahrouhi there in Cairo for us. Thank you very much for that update.